Albert Awol, the voice of the jungle, broadcasting on the DVC to all points unknown. If you're within the sound of my voice, you're listening to Welcome Home Podcast on the DVC.
Hello and welcome home. Thank you for joining us on episode 213 of Welcome Home, a Disney Parks and Vacation Club podcast. I'm Tom. I'm here with Trevor and Damon. How's it going, guys?
Colder than it should be this time of year.
Cold. Yeah. I was just telling Trevor that, like, how it's the other day it was like 30 degrees in the morning and then almost 70 in the afternoon, and it's just like wreaking havoc with my sinuses.
Yeah, it's been cold, that's for sure.
Welcome to my world.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
but the problem is that we had like one day where it was like 87, and then to go back to under freezing, that hurts a little bit.
Yeah, you see, we had that in January where we had a week where it felt warm enough that you could get away with like not a jacket, just wearing a hoodie, and then it dropped down to minus 30. So
yeah,
that's
it's really brutal when that happens.
Yeah,
so
this time. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, it's like, it definitely just like changes everything you want to do. Like I was going to wash the dog and I was like, oh no, it's nice. Like I'll just do it another day. And then it hasn't been nice for like 3 weeks.
It's been nice for like weeks. Yeah. No, I was going to say it's like down here this time of year, you have some days where you have to have the air conditioning on during the day and then turn the heat on at night.
Yeah. See, I don't do that. I just don't turn the air conditioning on.
That's crazy. What did you say, David? You don't what?
I just don't do that. Like I refuse to do that. Like it's either heat or cool, and I will not make the adjustment. That's it. So we're living with just being on heat for right now.
Open windows or closed windows. Those are your options.
So yeah, we don't even have the open window situation because we have plantation shutters everywhere, and like it's a pain. So we don't even bother.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah, I don't know. For me, we like to sleep in the cold. Like we sleep.
I do too.
Yeah, we have to be cold.
Better.
Yeah, like I think our temperature at night is usually like 68. Like that's our temperature, our go-to. So
yeah.
The problem here is we can't shut off the heat or like in the winter, even if you want it cooler, you just have to turn the heat down because if the house gets too cold, it can actually cause damage. And Without the heat on, it can get down to, it's Celsius. You'll have to do the conversions, but like 17 or 16 degrees Celsius is not good for your house, and it's not great to wake up in either.
Yeah. So, all right, we got listener questions, but I will say that I'm debating this trip for 2024. Nothing to do with Disney. Royal Caribbean cruise versus Disney cruise. So the thing is, the Disney cruises are just so expensive.
They are.
And the problem that I have with the Disney cruises too is like they don't fluctuate a lot in terms of pricing.
Where they don't have deals that often, is what you're saying, or
like when you book further out, it is a little bit cheaper, but not like ridiculously cheap like some of the other cruise lines. Where like if they're holding your money for over a year, they're like, oh well, it's going to be really cheap then, right? So I'm debating this Royal Caribbean cruise is probably a third of the price, but I have not done a Royal Caribbean. I did a Carnival without my wife, but my wife is like, I don't want to do anything other than a Disney cruise. So it's going to be interesting, but we're trying to do that for 2024 because we're kind of dialed in for 23, right? We have our trip to Florida for swim. We have our Disney trip in June, and then we have a Dollywood trip in August. And I think that's probably going to be it for this year, but then the year after my son will graduate, he's got to go to school early for sports. So we're just like, well, maybe we'll do a cruise. So I think we're thinking Royal Caribbean. I'd like to hear what people think that have been on Royal Caribbean versus Disney. And I understand it's not going to be the same, but it's literally like a third of the price, if not cheaper.
Yeah, that sounds good. I mean, I would like to go on a cruise. I keep seeing commercials for Disney cruises, and keep thinking to myself, my daughter would love this.
Yeah, and I think that's the other thing too, is like on the Disney cruises, there is a lot of things to do for the younger kids, but I think as the kids get older, Royal Caribbean may be, or Norwegian or something else. The only reason I'm thinking Royal Caribbean is because I want to do the island that they have.
Oh yeah,
but I feel like there's more for the older kids to do.
I would agree with that. Yeah.
So I know everything's kind of a la carte in terms of doing stuff and food and all that, but we'll see. I always like to, again, I know people knock on, the fact that I don't always do Disney stuff, but like the whole point is, getting other thoughts on other vacations, helps you to kind of understand like Disney in general, right? Like I love Disney cruises and I would say they're the best. So if you have the money, all in, but when you don't have the money or just don't want to spend the money, you got to see what the other options are and then make that comparison to Disney. And I think that's always a good thing as well.
I don't think people can expect us to do only Disney stuff all the time, right? Like we need to do other things.
I mean, it is a Disney podcast, but
I know, but like we can do other things too.
I think. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, and I think as long as we're making that comparison back to Disney, right, it holds some, information for other people.
Yeah, and my thought is that this is a matter of grounding ourselves a little bit because, like to your point, if you're just all Disney all the time, you don't really know if it's better or worse.
All Disney all the time,
right? Yeah, you don't know if it's better or worse than anything else, right? Like and to that end, like we've done trips other places, and you appreciate Disney more when you see what else is out there. That's not to say that other things are worse than Disney, but you start seeing the differences, and you like there will be places that are better, and you'll be like, yeah, I like this better. But then you also kind of see, like for me, it's amusement parks is like, I go to other amusement parks and then I see what Disney does, and it's like, I appreciate what Disney does. It's not that the other parks are worse. It's just I appreciate how Disney does it different, right? So.
Yeah, I will also, although I say this, but like I follow Dr. Disney on Facebook, one of the few Disney Facebook pages I actually follow, and I saw that Dr. Disney was on like a Royal Caribbean cruise, and I did feel like for a second, like, oh my goodness, he's like cheating on Disney, like what is going on here? Like even though like it's betrayal, but
well, why don't we have Dr. Disney on the podcast? That would be perfect.
We could do that. I think that would be
I'd
cool.
like to hear the Royal Caribbean versus Disney cruise, or our friends over at what is that? DCL
Duo.
Yeah, DCL Duo. Yeah, we haven't talked to them in a while. We have a friend, the DCL, the first DCL person we had on. Oh my gosh, why am I forgetting his name? I feel bad now. We've had at least two different Disney cruise.
Yeah, we need a cruise person that's done Royal Caribbean but seen the new island as well as the Disney stuff. So yeah, let's make that happen. All right, we got listener questions out because we're going to try to get to our ride, and I have to go early because my son's going back to school from spring break.
Well, so. and also Trevor's got a little bit of a cold, and so his voice is only going to last so long. So we got to keep this one tight today.
All right, so I'm going to go through these because I tend to feel like I make these go quicker if I read them and do them. All right. Sure. So Justin says, if you could make a permanent rule for the parks, what would it be and why? Sure, this is easy. No video recording in the parks for YouTube channels, vlogs, or anything like that, unless it's some like big place like Good Morning America and they have Disney approval.
Unless you're like actual press, like
Well, I don't want. So I still
people walking around with a phone attached to a gimbal, and
I mean, independent press is still press, right? Like I don't know.
I guess, I know,
right?
Yeah,
but I feel like what they do for a lot of different trade shows and stuff like that is they have some sort of baseline, right? So maybe that's what you do. So you say, okay, well, if you have 1 million subscribers, sure. If you don't, no, like. There is that. Like that happens with a lot of trade shows.
Or they need to just like register themselves with Disney somehow. So if they do pull anything stupid, Disney can just in the future be like, nah, you're done, right? Like
I don't know. That would be my rule.
Okay. Mine would be if you cut in line, you're out.
Oh, wow, that's a good one too. I don't know. I want both of them now.
Yeah. and actually have it be enforced.
And what if they did it Squid Game style? Where they had cameras.
Whoa.
Well, no, not getting shot, but like you had cameras so you could determine if somebody cut in line, so there'd be proof.
Yes, yeah, that would be the thing. Is that there would have to be evidence of it, and then
an eye in the sky.
I've had like a group of like 10 people cut in front of us before, and it was our friend is up there, and there was no friend up there. Again,
listen, if somebody's running their kid out to the bathroom or somebody's running to the bathroom, there's somebody else in line and there's only one part, like totally different scenario than
one person moving up is one thing, but when there's a group of like 4 or 5 people that come rolling through the line like that, like all of you gone, like that's just not cool.
It'd be very tough to prove. We'd have to have some sort of eye in the sky, but
yeah, because I had this
but-
situation happen.
Yeah.
I had this situation happen to me my last trip. My daughter had to go to the bathroom. We were in a long line, and so I had to run out of the line and then come back in again. But literally the entire time I was like, "Excuse me, sorry, bathroom." Like it was like literally telling everybody what was going on, so nobody thought I was like trying to cut or anything like that. But that's a good one. I like it.
Tom, what's your rule?
I see my that was kind of my rule. So now I can't. Now I can. See, I could go really harsh and say if you're randomly blocking the entrance to the lightning lane, that you're just banned for the parks forever. But
that's a tough one. People do that, and it is annoying.
They should get a timeout.
Should get a timeout.
They should, there should be like a timeout corner.
Yeah, I don't think that's a ban. Yeah, that could definitely be a timeout.
Yeah, just a timeout. You go to Disney jail for an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why people do that. It is very frustrating. Like you go up there, you know where you're going.
Yeah.
Why just stand there?
Why are you just standing there blocking the entrance so nobody else can walk in? Like, why are you doing that? Like,
man,
that one drives me crazier than anything else in the world. I swear, like that one is the one that, I mean, I've been known to like, to not yell at people, but like get a little testy with people.
No, you can't get that frustrated anymore, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, we're moving quickly though.
Oh, wait.
What's your trick? If you have a trick for it.
So one, be very polite, like Canadian polite, excuse me. And two, put your arms up in the air.
Your arms up in the air?
Ooh.
Yes. People, if you put your arms up, like not even like you're waving, just kind of like put your arms up. People get like, they think that you have somewhere to be for some reason, and they'll actually move out of the way. It's weird.
Interesting.
I don't understand how it works, but put your arms up in the air, and when people notice, they'll get out of your way.
I like that. I've been watching these tips and tricks from this Texas attorney that's on Instagram that like talks about dealing with people and stuff like that, like all tricks about like winning arguments and I like that sort of stuff. That's interesting. Yeah. All right, I like that. All right, I don't even want to read this next one because I feel like it's a whole show.
This is this one got a real reaction.
We're going to skip that one for now, and we're going to do the other easier ones first.
Yeah, that's fair.
So Nathan says, have you ever considered doing the guaranteed week buy-in? Not really sure about it. No. Things change too often for me. And I can't do it. The only way I would consider doing it is that if I knew I had nowhere to be on a specific holiday, like I would do it maybe for Thanksgiving or Christmas, but things have changed even then. But that would be the only time I would do it. And I wouldn't do it unless my life situation was different.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing I value about DVC the most is the flexibility, right? Like, so to not have that flexibility, I don't know, that just wouldn't be worth it to me. Maybe if it was like, I knew that I wanted to, I know a lot of the people that do like the Run Disney events will do the guaranteed weeks. Yeah. Which,
I could see that.
Makes sense, right? But for me, we never go the same time every year, ever. So it just would never work out for us.
I mean, my life, I think, is probably half as hectic as yours, Damon. And I couldn't, I'm in the same boat where it's like, you don't know what you're doing year to year. And I don't want to commit to be, this week I'm always going to be planning a trip to Disney. Like it just, doesn't work.
Yeah. That was easier than I thought. All right. So this one, this is from Kevin, the most overrated, overhyped component of an attraction, and why is it the Hatbox Ghost?
No, Kevin.
Wow. No. Kevin. I mean, come on.
Sorry, this is a huge piece of history in Disney, and that's why it has the hype around it.
I agree. Yeah. It's not just about the animatronic figure, right? It's the whole history behind it, that it was this original thing that was designed and they couldn't figure it out, and so they took it out and then it came back again. It's just, there's a whole cool history to it.
Yep. And the movie's doubling down on it, so there.
Yeah, that's so there.
Wait, so if that's the case, then what was your most overhyped component of an attraction?
Overhyped component.
How about the coaster portion of Guardians of the Galaxy?
Oh, okay.
I was gonna say is it the Yeti on Everest?
No, the Yeti.
Well, because the Yeti doesn't move anymore. It was overhyped and it was like
no.
Overhyped
it broke. It broke. Like overhyped means that people think it's really awesome and it's not. The Yeti was really awesome when it worked.
When it worked, yeah, but I'm saying it doesn't work anymore. So like,
but that's not what this question is.
Yeah.
It's not asking what the thing you missed the most because it's broken. It's what's the most overrated, overhyped component.
Been broken forever.
Okay.
Well, not forever. I saw it.
I'm digging deep on this. You're gonna have to give me a minute.
Oh, gosh, I know you're really thinking hard about this.
I'm going through all. I'm trying to think of something in a ride that I just don't get excited about the same way that other people do, but I don't know what that is. But I know there's something.
Okay, well, if you think about it,
okay, we'll come back to it. Yeah.
Mid show. Now this one, Patricia, who I agree with on this fully. Thoughts on a minimum requirement of days for a DVC reservation. For example, when there is a Moonlight Magic date, there is no availability at DVC resorts for that one night. Before and after that date are wide open. This disrupts members that are going on WDW for vacation. There's a vacation club, and one night is not a vacation. Now, that's a little in there. Like, I don't know if I would say all that, but I know other timeshare programs have minimum number of consecutive days necessary. Does anyone agree? I fully agree with this. Like, look, I think that if there's an event going on, especially, right, that you shouldn't be able to go, like, especially a Moonlight Magic. I feel like even if you weren't going to do minimum requirements around other things, like, so then the people could still go for their single days here and there. I feel like when you have a Moonlight Magic, that there shouldn't be 1 day reservations just for Moonlight Magic. I'm going to say it. So, I agree with that.
So you're saying specifically around Moonlight Magic, they should.
I'm going to go with that for now. Yeah,
create a minimum. So like, you only get the preference of getting in earlier if you have at least a 2-night stay or something like that.
I'm going to make it at least 3 nights, but yeah. That would be my happy medium. I mean, I kind of agree that there shouldn't be 1 day reservations, but I understand why people want them. But listen, you can't have it all, right? Like Moonlight Magic, there should be some, and I think that would kind of help solve the problem, because that's kind of what people are saying is like, hey, if I want to get a reservation and there so happens to be Moonlight Magic when I want to go, that's when there's a problem. Where if people are taking single days at other times of the year, I also think maybe holidays, 4th of July, things like that. There shouldn't be, single day stays on, let's say, 4th of July. Again, my opinion here, but that's how I feel. So I'm going to go with Moonlight Magic and holidays, but everything else, fine.
I don't know how to feel about this one. Sorry, Trevor, go.
Yeah, it's treading that fine line of like blackout dates with the annual passes. Like I agree with you, Damon, but at the same time, if they started doing it, it opens up a floodgate of suddenly there's way more rules and restrictions in place that may it just, I don't know. Because I saw some of the comments on this question, and even Derek chimed in from DVC Resale Market that people who live local, they don't always go.
But he also has a vested interest, so let's just.
He does, yeah, but
twofold.
But I guess if we're specifically talking about Moonlight Magic, yeah, I think maybe you're right for that particular case, but I think Derek's argument was more that, any time of year he may choose to, take a 1 day, like an
sure.
stay.
But then he's got to plan that outside of Moonlight Magic and holidays.
Right.
Then.
Yeah. And I think that's the problem here, is that it's specifically these extra events that are kind of causing havoc with the system. And
sure.
Yeah.
I mean, is a solution to that just having more of those events and spreading them throughout the year more? I mean,
no.
Okay.
I don't think so.
Because then you make a more of a problem then?
I think so.
Yeah, they did that back in like 2019 where there was a whole bunch of Moonlight Magic events, and it just
10 plus events. Yeah.
Yeah. It does get a little too chaotic.
Yeah, I guess I could see that. I don't know. For me, I understand what Patricia's saying here. I also understand the locals in Florida, right? Like they want to use DVC however they can. Like I always think that the strength of the DVC program, like I just said, is flexibility, right?
But how much are you really taking away from them? You're taking maybe 3 weeks total out of the year.
I'm in agreement with it if the idea here is that you're just restricting it around Moonlight Magic, right? Like if you're going to say...
I feel like you got to get holidays in there, but sure, go ahead.
Yeah, no, that's fine too. I mean, I think they they already kind of restrict holidays just by making the points so much more during that time, right? Like they already make it more or less attractive to stay during that.
I mean, less attractive, but that could cause somebody to want to just do one day instead of 3 or 4.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, because it's so much more expensive points wise.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't disagree with the Moonlight Magic piece. Could like maybe you just have a minimum stay requirement, but at the same time, I also feel bad for the local DVC people who might not be able to get into that event. Then you know what I mean? Like I feel like they have.
But how local are they?
I mean, there's plenty of local people that live in the state of Florida that are DVC members, right?
Okay, so what is the good thing about Moonlight Magic?
Well, especially if you're a local and you have an annual pass and you go there all the time, it's something different. It's a special event, right? So
what is it? What is that special event?
What
does it really do for you? Like what?
It's a freebie.
It's freebie, yeah.
Free access to the park and it's free stuff. Like,
but if you're local, or free stuff. I mean, some popcorn and some. Okay, so let's take that. Let's take that out for a second. So. I just think you have more access if you're close anyway. The people that would do 1 days have more access to the parks in general.
No, that's I don't know.
It's just
undeniably true. Yeah. So,
listen,
I mean,
I get it because the people that live there, right? I don't live there. Very difficult for me to say that I wouldn't feel differently if I lived there. So, but from not living there, this is my stance.
Well, go ahead. Sorry, Trevor.
No, I got nothing to add.
Yeah, because I also see, though, like a lot about people wanting them to restrict, like, people that walk their reservations or it's just, I think it's hard for them to really know what somebody's intention is, right? Like, because they're never going to know that somebody booked one night because they wanted to, go to Moonlight Magic. Like,
whoa, hold on a second though. But they know that because you booked one night on that date. But
so maybe you're there for a conference or something, and you book. It just happens to coincide with Moonlight. I mean, there's lots of reasons why you might be there besides Moonlight Magic. Not everybody goes to Moonlight Magic, right? So, I mean,
if it's a single day booking. So
the odds are it's
80
more
plus percent of your scenarios are they're going to Moonlight Magic. For those other scenarios, well
then you don't have access to Moonlight Magic. How's that?
Yeah, no, that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, but that doesn't help solve the people that want to go.
No, that want to go. Yeah.
But it would maybe that alleviates the issue of like if you really want to go, but again, you just really want to go that day, you just don't have access to Moonlight Magic.
What if you start charging a small fee for Moonlight Magic?
I don't think that matters. I don't think it could be a small fee. You don't think that matters?
No.
Yeah.
You don't think that lessens the demand for it?
No.
I mean,
that hasn't stopped after hours events from happening.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what? That's a fair point, Trevor, because I was thinking to myself, how much would I pay for a Moonlight Magic event?
As much as an after hours event, and Disney do not do that.
Don't think that. Yeah, don't give them ideas. Don't give them ideas. Although
that's why we do after hours, though, is it's the same as a Moonlight Magic event.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my goodness, we're not going to make the random ride at this point.
No, well, we could get there. We get there.
Yeah. All right, you guys need to talk about your DVC news, which is the early details on cash rates and room categories for villas at that place that I don't care about.
I feel like Damon. I feel like you're the Lion King meme of You see that place over the horizon there, that dark place? That's Disneyland. Yeah. We never go there. I feel like that's you. I mean, I was more, interested in the cash rates and the room categories here. So, I mean,
these are steep.
They are steep. I mean, yeah. One of these two-person studios is between $450 and $550 a night, which is really steep. Standard View Deluxe Studio, $700 to $800. By the way, this is from DVC News, so we'll attribute it to them. And then Preferred View Deluxe Studio is an extra $100, basically $800 to $900 a night. So there's that.
Here's the ridiculous thing about this. Back the last time I stayed at the Grand Californian was in 2015. So we're talking 8 years ago now.
Yeah.
I stayed there for $300 a night.
Yeah, at Grand Californian. Yeah.
Yeah. And this is more than double that.
What's it going for now, though? What's the cash rate of the Grand
Californian? But that speaks to the overall problem of like, night or room stays have more than doubled. Like that's just, it's crazy. Like this is why I do DVC, I guess, because I would not pay this.
Yeah, well, that's part of what you do. Why you do it, right? Like you're trying to protect yourself from the increase of these cash room rates, right? So, yeah, I mean, I want to say I'm surprised by these, but to be fair, I don't really know what the room rates are going for at Disneyland right now. So, and the cash room rates. So, to your point, I don't know if these are on par with other hotels in the area, or if this is really that expensive, or what.
I think it really is that expensive. There's good neighbor hotels that are still like reasonably cheap, and they're like right across the street. Like they're just on the other side of Disneyland. They're not even like they're still walking distance.
Yeah.
So,
and this also mentions that most of the resorts rooms will overlook a pool, because one side overlooks the existing monorail pool, while the other two sides overlook the new pool that they're building. Right. So, really, there's not much that it would be standard view here. They're saying basically the only rooms facing to the south, the general direction of Paradise Pier Hotel, would be branded as standard view. So it seems like standard view is probably going to be hard to come by, right? Yeah.
So, looking at the Grand Californian, they start at $843.
Oh my gosh!
They go, and the pool view is $977. So,
wow!
I mean, it's more than tripled.
Is that right now though? Because
yes.
This is spring break time, so that's peak.
Well, that's this week. So
that's that's peak. Cost. So, do you like a random time in
let's hit like
October
May or something.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how the crowd calendar goes in Disneyland, but I'm sure it still follows. Like spring break is still super busy, and holiday.
Ooh, it's 839 in October.
Oof, man, that is a lot. Okay,
pool view is 1,000, over 1,000.
All right, so this feels kind of reasonable now.
No, it doesn't actually.
It doesn't still? Why? Because Grand California is just that much closer because it's in the park and.
But I'm still not paying cash for one of those rooms.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because and the standard, the Duo studio is only the $450 to $550. The regular studio is $800 to $900. So it pretty much aligns with the Grand Californian, right? Yeah. And then they also have the one bedroom is $1,200 a night, 2-bedroom $1,800 a night, and the Grand Villa is $4,000 a night. Which, you know what, for the Grand Villa, it's a big room. I mean, if you had a lot of people in there, if you filled the whole capacity, like think about that. Let's say you had how many can it sleep? 10 or 12, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like not terrible for that nice and big of a room, I guess. A couple $100 a person per night if you filled that thing up. Not that I would do it. I'm just saying.
So, I mean, if you had 6 couples in there, it would work out to about $600 a night.
Yeah. Which, is less than the studios, but you'd have to have all those people in there. Yeah.
Yeah. Then you have to find 5 other families to travel with.
Yeah, exactly.
Or that's just couples. So if it was kids, the price actually goes up per family.
And it's worth noting, we still don't have the point charts on this because they still are not selling points, and you still can't even book on points. So we won't have those things until then. But so this says, interestingly, this says room rates at the Disneyland Hotel are generally 15 to 20% less than Disney's Grand Californian. So there you go. It says it right in the article about the comparison to Grand California, but that's with room rates. Yeah, that's not points. So okay, all right. I don't have anything else on this. Do you?
Yeah, no. Let's we want to get to the ride here before Damon has to go. Do we want to do the ad or do we want to do the ride first?
Let's do the ride first, and then we'll do our ad. Yeah. All right. Okay. So, somebody called me out on the whole wheel spinning thing on the Facebook group, and now I feel
I don't care. Spin the wheel.
Yeah, spin the wheel, man.
Do it.
Oh. All right.
Oh. Okay. All right. This week is Kilimanjaro Safaris.
Oh man, one of my favorites.
Yeah.
So this is an opening day ride for Animal Kingdom. First of all, we should mention, so the whole idea behind this ride, Walt Disney wanted to use real animals in the original Jungle Cruise ride, which for obvious reasons was not possible. Right? So that kind of inspired the design of this ride. But I don't know about you guys. I wrote this ride in 1999. Right after Animal Kingdom opened, and the ride was much different then, right? It had a storyline about poachers, and you were trying to save an elephant, and there was like the cast member.
Animatronic.
There was an animatronic. The cast member in the Jeep was communicating with a fake radio person, and then of course the bridge that they turned off. Oh man, I missed that bridge.
It was a good bridge.
Yeah, so like if you guys, if you don't know about this, if you've ever been on Kilimanjaro Safari, there's a bridge you go over at one point that kind of, sometimes the sound effect works, and I feel like, and sometimes it doesn't, where it makes a whole bunch of creaking sounds. But it used to be you would go on that bridge and the bridge would like shake, like you felt like the bridge was going to break. Like, and that effect broke like forever ago, and they just turned it off. I don't know if it broke or if they just turned it off, but
I remember that though. Those were the good old days. Go ahead, Trevor.
Was it the vehicle doing it, or was it the bridge? I guess
I believe it was the bridge. I believe it was the bridge. Yeah, I think it was an actual shaking bridge. Sorry.
So I like this ride for a lot of reasons, right? It is a kind of like a pseudo Ellen ride, right? Like you're kind of sitting down, chilling, relaxing. You're not walking at that point. That's definitely a win.
You're shaded.
Yep, you're shaded. I think that the current version of it without the shaking bridge and without the story is not that it was scary, because it wasn't scary, but like anybody can ride this, right? Like,
yeah,
I think it's a ride for everybody. You're not coming off of it worrying about, anything that happened during the ride. I think it's educational. I think because it's at Disney. See,
I'm going to ruin this for you in a second, Damon, but continue.
I feel like it's safe, right? And I think that's one of the big things is that when you go to other safaris at different parks, it just doesn't feel as safe, but at the same time as natural. It's a great ride. I mean, I think it's a win. What were you going to say now, Trevor?
So I don't know if you're aware of this, but apparently during the cast previews, there was a dark ending.
Yeah. There was a very dark ending.
So the safari encountered the corpse of Big Red. She was on the ground, symbolizing that the poachers got her, and the tour group was too late to save the mother elephant. Despite being only a statue, the scene proved too shocking for families and children. There was a dark ending too.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of like, normally I'm a dark ending sort of person, but I am kind of glad that didn't happen.
That's a little too Bambi.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember if, like, because I don't know when they removed that piece, but I seem to remember that from when I went in '99, right? Because this ride opened April 22nd, 1990.
I feel like I was there at '99, and I don't think I've ever seen that.
It said this was a cast preview thing, so I think they did like initial
before then
testing, and then they were like, "No, we can't do this." Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. So maybe it never made it, but I mean, I know it was still, I mean, pretty dark with the poachers and like.
Yep.
Yeah, the whole storyline was very dark. But I used to really enjoy like the little communication that they would do between the two. And like I said, the shaking bridge was always like a highlight, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's unfortunate that kind of stopped, but
I wonder if that was scary to kids.
Maybe. I mean, I could see that, right? I still think it creaks though as you go over it. Like it
does, but it's way different than what it was. Way different.
Yeah, because it literally used to like tilt back and forth and like bounce up and down and like
you felt like the back wheel was falling off the because I remember I like when we rode it in 2003 that was still operating at the time. So yeah, it felt like the vehicle was going to fall off the track at one point.
But I still feel, regardless of even some of the things that are taken away, I mean, this is a solid B+ A- ride. Like, I don't really have anything bad to say about it. I think they do it extremely well, especially because this was done at other parks. And I think they just, made it a point to be Disney about it and just make it better.
Well, because Damon, you grew up. I mean, I grew up with the drive-through safari at Great Adventure,
where the monkeys used to rip apart people's tops of their cars.
They'd rip your cars apart. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So like there was for those that don't know, right? So there was a drive-through safari. It's still there, but I don't think you drive through anymore. I think now they have like a Disney style kind of thing. But so basically you would drive through the safari yourself, which seems like a bad idea just in general, because like you could be hitting animals and stuff like that. But like basically at the end of the ride, like monkeys would just jump all over your vehicle and would just rip people's cars.
Yeah, people
apart.
that had Cadillacs were in for a shock.
Yep. Yeah, they would rip that like fabric off the cars.
Yep.
I also remember too, there were like people people at the end of that ride that with just big long metal sticks that were just like knocking off the monkeys from your car.
Oh, I don't remember that, but I'm sure. I mean, I was definitely on that ride many times, though.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd call it a ride, right? It was like you just drove your own car through. Sorry, Trevor, go ahead.
Yeah, the Disney version is far more safe.
Safe for the animals and safe for the people. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, because think about it. What you're doing is you're telling people not to open their windows. Yeah. How would that go in today's? Like it wouldn't work.
People would
right?
just do it anyway. Yeah.
It worked back then because people
there would be TikToks of people doing dumb stuff and
like it kind of worked back then because people really didn't. I don't know. I think
they listen to the rules more.
yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, they weren't going for views.
True. Yeah. Absolutely.
So a couple other things about this ride. I think the reason why I love this ride is that it's different every time you go on it. You know what I mean? Like,
oh yeah,
because you see different animals. Like you can go in the morning.
What time of day you go, just depending on whenever. Yeah, I agree.
Like the rewritability of this ride, even though like the different areas you're going into, and most of the spiel, and you also do get some variation sometimes with the people that are, just like the Jungle Cruise. Sometimes you get like a really good driver that's like really into it. We had one time that was like we came to that part where it said like road closed, and there's just like why am I can't think of the word that says road closed and the bridge is missing, and it's just like a big ditch there. Yeah. And this guy came on and he goes, what do you guys think? Maybe we can jump it. And he like started to like rev up the engine like he was going to try to jump it. Like, and I'd never heard anybody do that before, and it was really funny. But like,
I also think the other thing too, Tom, is in terms of that sort of like replayability is like sometimes there'll be an animal in one of the paths and they have multiple paths.
Yeah.
Because of that. Right. So that's happened to us a few times. Or like there's, a truck is stuck up there because of whatever reason and you got to go a different way. Like, there's a lot of that.
Yeah. And I mean, go ahead. Sorry, Trevor.
I remember like a couple of years ago, like one of the giraffes was giving birth as people were going through the safari. Like it was kind of a, they cleared out the vehicles after a bit, but there was a couple of them that got through where it was like, oh, and to your left, a giraffe is giving birth. Like,
yeah,
okay. It's, they're wild animals and that's going to happen. So, and to your point that, it's very much a unique ride every time you get on it, regardless of the driver or anything. You don't know what you're going to see. Right. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I also will say too, that I am very fascinated by how they built. They like you were talking about, Damon, like they Disneyfied this, right? So like there's all these barriers that are separating you from the animals that if you look really hard you can see, but for the most part they built all the barriers into the landscape. So like it really feels like you're on safari and the animals are close to you. You know what I mean? Like that they could come by anytime and do that. I also just like want to mention too. So like it's important to note that this is the largest attraction at any Disney park by far. This attraction is 110 acres, which is bigger than the entire Magic Kingdom. So the entire Magic Kingdom is 107 acres. Literally, the Magic Kingdom would fit into just this ride path, which is pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Magic Kingdom with those animals everywhere, I mean, that would be a whole different experience.
That would be very much like the first season of Alice in Borderland, I feel like.
Yeah. Yeah, actually it would.
but before I go, I want to talk about Disney Speedstorm.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, yes. Sure. Yeah.
So again, right, it's pretty much a Mario Kart ripoff, which is fine because there's a bunch of them and some of them are pretty darn good.
To it.
Yeah.
There's what?
Fortnite aspects to it. It's got like seasons and upgrading or getting different cars and skins and stuff.
Yeah, I think the only thing that I'm just not that impressed with our first set of characters. Like, first of all, I expect everyone to be playing and racing from the podcast. I mean, that's definitely going to happen. But I'm not
played the beta, so yeah.
I'm not really like enthralled by this set of characters. So the characters that you're going to start with, Mulan, Megara. I don't even know who she is. Who is she?
Who is that?
Megara.
Meg.
Is that who that is?
From Hercules.
Is that Meg from Hercules?
Okay.
Yeah, Megara.
Jack Sparrow, Donald Duck, Hercules,
That's
Beast,
pretty cool. No?
Li Shang, Elizabeth. Who's Elizabeth from? Oh, also from the Jack Sparrow universe.
Yeah.
Okay. And then Baloo. Like,
I mean, Baloo's a good... I would play as Baloo, I feel like.
and then what they have
Baloo
a bunch of people from Monsters, Inc. too, and Goofy. I mean, that's what they're saying. That
Yeah,
there's,
yeah.
And then you're going to have some characters that kind of help you out that are not playable. But gosh, I feel like if you're putting them in the game as skins, like, are they going to be play? I don't know. It seems like a small list and just not the characters I would have chosen.
But this is where I was talking about how they're going to play it like Fortnite, where like future seasons, they're going to keep adding more and more characters.
But I don't love that. Like, dude, just let me pay $70 for a game and get mostly everybody.
Totally. Yeah,
right.
I agree on that level, but I also see why they're doing this, because it is going to be a free to play game, so they're trying to do the microtransaction.
Yeah, no, I get it, but I'm just. So who are you playing?
I'd be Baloo, man. I'd be as Baloo. Is that what you're asking, or you're
yeah, that's what I was asking. I mean, I kind of feel the same way. Like, I kind of might be a Baloo, maybe Goofy, maybe.
I'd go the Beast. Maybe the Beast is not a bad choice.
I'm starting with Donald personally.
Yeah. Donald has a good chaotic energy for this game.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
How was
I think he's a lighter racer in this one too, so it kind of lines because I play like lighter racers.
Oh, and I play medium, so that's why Baloo is tough for me. But I would try that. I don't know. I'm not like just enthralled with this list. I'm definitely going to play though. And is it playable? I'm looking on the Nintendo site, but is it playable? Is it across all platforms?
I was wondering if it was cross-platform because it's going to be out
I'm
for
not sure.
PlayStation 4, 5, Switch, Xbox One, Xbox, other Series S, X, and PC.
Yeah, I hope it is. I hope it's playable, except those cheating PC people.
Cheating.
You don't cheat.
Cheating PC people, dude. That's all I'm going to say.
Oh, man. You're going to start a gamer war over here.
I mean, mods will get you banned in games like that. So
yeah, but there's people get around that, dude. You're good enough. You're getting around them.
That's true.
I still play with a controller on PC, so I'm not giving myself any advantage.
I mean, I have all the platforms, so I'm okay with them not being platform crossover.
I mean,
we'll say.
I'm most likely going to play this on Switch. Like, that's probably
I could
where
play it on Switch.
Yeah,
that's the one thing is if it's not platform crossover, like that's annoying. If like all your friends are on Switch and then you're on Xbox, right? Like, I hope that they've figured that out.
Yeah, it says cross-platform arcade game. I think they're just talking about it goes across all the platforms. I don't know if they actually made multiplayer across platforms. I don't know. But we should definitely have a podcast like game night or something where we all play or
get on Discord.
I could do that.
I can stream it and people can watch on Discord.
I would be down for that. We should do that once this comes out. And then, by the way, this is coming out April 18th for early access. How was the beta, Trevor? Is the beta good? Like,
I mean, it's a pretty solid racer. Like if you've played, it probably plays closer to the Sega All-Stars racing. If you've ever played that, like it's faster than Mario Kart.
Yeah.
So it definitely, like, the tracks play faster. But I mean, it's that pretty solid arcade racing. Like you get the power ups and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I mean, I enjoyed it. It was, it's a good, better than previous Disney platform games that, sometimes they try and they kind of miss. This one seems like they actually, had some decent developers working on it. So
okay, nice. All right, so I want to go back to the Kilimanjaro Safari. We wanted to cover that because Damon was leaving, but we should read our ad really quick because we're about halfway through the show. So
okay,
let me go ahead and do that so you can save your voice.
Thank you.
Since Damon's gone, I gotta, we gotta make sure that you still have a voice, so I have somebody to talk to, so I'm not just talking to myself. Which would be fine if I talk to myself.
I'll type in chat and then nobody can figure out what I'm saying.
I'll just read. Oh, so Trevor's saying this. Like, I'll just speak for you. All right. So our sponsor of this episode is DVC Resale Market. DVC Resale Market, a world of DVC company, is the leader in the DVC resale industry with 13 former Disney Vacation Club guides and 3 former Disney Vacation Club quality assurance managers. If you're thinking of buying DVC, browse the largest selection of DVC resale listings anywhere with DVC experts on hand 7 days days a week to answer your questions. If you're thinking of selling, turn to the friendly professionals at DVC Resale Market, where over 98% of listings sell within 30 days. In 2021, DVC Resale Market helped over 4,400 families join or add on to their memberships. Gotta update that for 2022. Go to dvcresalemarket.com or call 1-844-DVC-PROS. That's 1-844-382-7767. And when you speak to them, be sure to let them know that Welcome Home sent you. Also, please go check out their, the thing they announced last week, which is the contracts that are eligible for the transfers. Where you can swap your contract with a different one. I was looking at it the other day. I didn't see any that met my qualifications yet, but go check that out. That is live.
You got some time because that runs until the end of April, right? So
yeah, till the end of April. It's funny because somebody on the site mentioned that they called DVC like Monday or DVC Resale that Monday to ask about it, and I guess the person on the phone didn't know about it yet because
Danny said that it was I think we were one of the first places to get that information.
We were. Yeah, that was an exclusive to our show. We were the first to announce that one. So yeah, she said that even that the people within the company didn't know yet that they were doing that. So yeah. But anyway, just back to Kilimanjaro Safari because I do love this ride, and I do really think this is very cool. It's one of those ones that I think is like peak Imagineering, where they obviously they made a gigantic thing that they would probably never make something this large again. But I love the fact that it's the animals can roam around, right? Like it's not a zoo environment. Like they have a ton of space.
They're not penned in, and there's actually like animals coexisting together.
Absolutely. Yeah. I love that they kind of like mimic like their home environment. We tend to go on this at least 2-3 times every single time we're there. At least every time we're at Animal Kingdom, certainly we go on it, right? Plus, it's always one of those rides that usually doesn't have that long of a line, even if it has like a long wait time listed. Like they move people through this ride like crazy, right? Like it's fast. I've done so many behind the scenes tours here, and like just for this particular ride, and not for the ride, but for Animal Kingdom in general, like we've done behind the scenes tours. And, just to see the way that Disney treats the animals and like the state of the art facilities they have and like, meeting some of the keepers and stuff like that is, I just have a lot of love for this ride and really for Animal Kingdom as a park. I think everybody knows that I've said before that Animal Kingdom is my favorite park because I do think it's peak Imagineer work where they theme that park better than any other park. It's so authentic and just, I don't know. I just love it. In general. Sorry, go ahead, Trevor.
Yeah, I get that. And actually I was going to mention, so I have a friend that he works at the Smithsonian, which they actually have a fairly large zoo, and they do a lot of animal conservation type work there. And even he said, that Disney comes up from time to time because of the work that Disney's doing for animal conservation. So it's not just Kilimanjaro kind of is the epitome of that work. Like I mean, really, it's all of Animal Kingdom, but it's them, not just being like, hey, we got some animals, come see us. It's they're actually trying to educate and they're trying to improve situations for these animals. So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I will also say too, I did see the trucks going backstage. So we had a very early morning tour of the backstage area at Animal Kingdom, and I saw the trucks actually come off the track and they just park in a parking lot overnight, like literally just like a regular parking lot, which is a little weird to see, right? Because you're used to these things being on the safari. They are real trucks. They are driven. They are actually driven. It's not like the Jungle Cruise where it's secretly on a track. Sorry, everybody, if I'm spoiling that for you, but. And they do only go 8 miles per hour. So the funny thing is, like, seeing them on the road going to the attraction in the morning, we actually got stuck behind it in our tour vehicle because they only go 8 miles per hour. They're maximum 8 miles per hour. And so they go so slowly just trying to get to the actual track. It's just kind of funny to watch. And we had to wait for quite a while because of how long it, how slow they are. So, it's also worth noting too, but that this was a park that was developed by Joe Rohde. very famous Imagineer. You know, he's the one with all the earrings, right?
Yep.
And it's also one of my favorite Imagineering stories about Animal Kingdom in general, right? About how they had said like an animal park wasn't going to be that exciting. And I want to say, was it a lion it was Joe Rohde brought I think it was like a lion into a board meeting filled with executives to scare everybody. Yeah, it's one of my favorite things ever. Do you know about this?
I never actually heard this, no. But
yeah,
it sounds like something he would do.
Yeah.
He made his point that it was exciting.
let me Google this really quickly here because oh no, it's a tiger. It's a tiger. Okay, yeah. So basically he said that that the executives didn't think that the park was going to be exciting enough to people. And so he decided, instead of bringing presentation materials, he brought a live tiger into the room. So yeah. So anyway, that's a fun story about that. It's not Kilimanjaro Safari specific; it's more specific to Animal Kingdom as a park. But it is one of my favorite stories about this. So yeah, I mean, it's the flagship ride. I mean, when we went there in '99, this was one of the only things open. Like there was not a ton of stuff open the opening year, like ride wise, right? Like this was the main ride. So
yeah.
So it is one of those things I remember from that trip really very vividly. So like I said, I just love this ride. I think it's great. That's what I was going to say before. Okay. Is that of all the times that I've gone, I think I've only seen the lions one time.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Like they're never there. Like you can never see them. Like they're always hiding or sleeping and, you know.
We've actually seen them like running around, but that's because we got on at dusk and that's when they tend to be more active.
Yeah, see, we've never done a nighttime one before. Funny enough, we've never done like a late night one.
Well, you'll never get like usually the ride closes down at dusk.
But they started doing the nighttime ones like a later night one, right?
They did, yeah. But yeah, usually you won't. Or in my experience, you'll get those. But the thing is that a lot of animals will be asleep at night. So yeah, you may see like the lions, but nothing else will be up. So
yeah.
That's why I think like either going early in the morning or at dusk is the best times to go on the ride.
No, I agree with you, and it does tend to be the thing we would rope drop at Animal Kingdom. That we would go straight to that because, like I mentioned, like the thing I love about it the most is that it's a different ride every single time you go on it. You see different animals. The giraffes get closer or further away from your ride vehicle every time. You know, sometimes you see a rhino, sometimes you don't. And then I will say one other fun fact that because I love a good fun fact. And this is something we actually talked to one of the zookeepers about. Is that every night when they close the attraction, the way that they get the animals back in is that they've trained each and every animal with a different sound that they will play.
A recall sound.
Yeah, it's a recall sound. It's a sound that they play, and that tells the animals to come back. So there are all sorts of different sounds, but each animal has a specific sound, and they play that at night, and that tells the animal it's time to go back to their enclosure in the backstage area. And so that's... Go ahead, sorry.
That's actually funny enough that like it's the same concept. Like I've trained my dog with a recall word because there was when he was a puppy, he got out into the street and there was the panic of chasing him and everything. And then we learned from a trainer, you train your dog to respond to a particular word, and this is the same concept: is that you train the animal to respond to a particular sound. And, they basically know that when they hear that sound, there's either like food or something really good that's going to happen.
Yeah.
And that's how they get them back to their enclosures when they need to.
Exactly. Yeah.
But you can do this at home too. It's not just for Kilimanjaro Safari.
That's true. Well, interesting. The zookeeper was talking about, they were like, listen, it's hard to train wild animals, right? Like, they didn't think that they were going to be able to actually do it. And so like for them to be able to do it and have that work is pretty amazing. But also too, if you haven't done a behind the scenes tour, by the way, like there's some really, really good tours at Animal Kingdom. Like there's some really great ones if you're really into animals and you want to like do more of these things. So, But yeah, it's just I just think it's quintessential Disney, this ride. So
yeah, it was a good random pick, I think, for this week for our ride. Which for anyone debating the wheel is real.
The wheel is real.
We do actually spin a wheel to pick these rides. This was not like us deciding ahead of time. It's a random pick.
It's a random pick. That is true. It's true. I swear that we really do. We have there's a wheel that exists. Yes.
Yes.
It's not lying.
I'm going to circle back around on the overrated ride thing from earlier.
Oh, you thought of what?
Yeah. Okay. Peter Pan flying over London.
Oh,
once you've seen it once, it's really not like, it's not it's an old effect and it works, but that line is way too long for what it is.
That ride is just too long, though. I mean, that line is just too long because the capacity is so bad on that thing, right? Like that's really
but it's also the hype too. It's people it's people thinking that they have to ride that ride, and it's not like I don't think the hype is quite as big as everyone makes it out to be.
No, I agree. Oh, anything else about Animal Kingdom? Well, this is Kilimanjaro Safaris before we go here.
No, I want to talk about this Tron stuff quickly.
Yeah, let's talk about Tron. I know we've talked a lot about Tron and people are probably Troned out, but Disney kind of just like puts things out in small increments. So now we're getting a look at the merch, which I have to say the merch for this ride is very cool. Overall, like all of it is very cool. So what do you want to highlight? Which one are you like really excited about?
So the things that I'm really liking are the jacket that lights up.
Yeah, the jacket that lights up is cool.
and the fact that they have actual identity discs and the backpack with the Bluetooth speaker built into it. Like that's
pretty cool.
Yeah, they didn't have to do any of that. And they're definitely going all in on the Tron stuff.
Yeah, they really embraced very much Tron. I mean, of course they did, but I thought you were going to go with the action figure that everybody's talking about, the customizable action figure.
See, I don't care about the action figure because it's like I've had enough action figures over the years that I don't need another one sitting on my desk.
That's fair. So for those that sorry.
I like them, but if I had the choice, I would be like, I think the backpack is the thing I'm most interested in because it's got the Bluetooth speaker built into it and everything.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. The clothes that glow are cool. Yeah, but I also like the retro looking shirts and stuff are really yeah. Those are cool. But the thing I was talking about, so if you guys haven't seen this, and I've seen this is kind of making its way around the internet, especially amongst like toy people that are really into toys. So one of the things they're going to do is they're going to have this thing called the Tron Identity Program, which is it's going to be a customizable piece of merchandise that you can make. So essentially, it's an action figure that has your face on it. It's got like a tiny screen on it, basically, right? So I've talked on the show before about what I did for Christmas, where there's a 3D printed action figure, that's customized to my friend's face. This is a little bit different because it's an actual screen that's inside the head of the action figure, and so your face will go in there, and then you'll also they'll have you record different phrases that will also be in the action figure that you can I guess press a button and it will say the different phrases.
You can have your Tron thing say "There's a snake in my boot."
It kind of seems like there's phrases that they make you say.
You can't make me say anything, and I'm sure people will hack these things to do whatever they want.
Do whatever they want. Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong about that. People do that kind of stuff, right? So, I mean, this is a really cool action figure, I have to say, and it's a really neat idea. And you were talking too about the identity chip that you can use to reprogram other merchandise.
Yeah, well, it's the identity disc. It's
the identity disc,
the ring.
Yeah,
they have on their back.
Yeah. So you can use it. I don't know what they mean by that though. To interactive identity discs and remote control light cycles. So first of all, this remote control light cycle looks pretty cool, but I don't know what they mean by identity chip that can be used to reprogram other merchandise.
If I had to guess, it's kind of like, do you remember the wands they had
Yeah.
that could change the color of the ears?
Yeah.
I think it's the same. Yeah, it's the same kind of thing because the identity disc, like there's all different colors of the discs and everything, right? Like based on the type of programs for those that haven't watched Tron. So I think it's going to be, you can like certain things, like you configure your identity disc so it's unique to you, and then whatever things are customizable by it will reflect. If you change the colors to green, the light up apparel will change to green and stuff like that. So
yeah, no, that makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah. Oh, I remember what I was going to say about Kilimanjaro Safari. Right. So one last thing. So I was on that ride one time, and I heard somebody say in front of me, Disney's gotten really good with the animatronics. Look how real that rhino looks. The rhino was walking. All right. Like, so there are some people that think that it's fake.
Do you suppose there was some sarcasm in their voice?
No, complete seriousness, my friend.
I'm having a hard time believing that.
That's what it sounded like. If they were being serious, okay.
Because I would say something like that,
as a joke,
sarcastically, but yeah.
Yeah, but how much, crazy things have you heard random Disney guests say?
It's true.
That are like, I mean, it's like, would it really shock you to hear somebody say that? But no, I'm telling you, somebody said it. And I was like, okay, then. I mean, I get it. Some people think these things are fake. And I think Disney, maybe Disney did this themselves by having very realistic looking, animatronics in some rides, and so you just assume that everything is fake. I don't know, but
I mean, I don't know. I for someone to think that, or actually, I could see the stretch of somebody believing that they've domesticated a rhino.
Yeah,
which
sure,
I can see somebody trying to believe that, even though no, you just no,
just no.
Yeah, but yeah, thinking that Kilimanjaro, they had the one animatronic in the ride, which was the baby elephant.
Yeah,
but to think that. Wow.
I'm not surprised by anything anymore, okay?
That would just mess up half my day at Animal Kingdom if I heard that.
If you heard that.
I'd be trying to figure out where that person's head is.
But just, remember this though too, it's always the joke you see from cast members is how many people ask them what time the 3:00 parade is, right?
Yeah.
Or why don't they put out the thing that blocks out the rain?
Bubble.
Yeah, the bubble.
Yeah.
Why don't they put the bubble up? There are people that really truly believe these things. So it's I'm not surprised by any of this.
Wow.
I will just to go back to Tron for a second. I will mention that the this experience that I'm talking about, the customizable experience, is going to be at Tomorrowland Light and Power Company. So that gift shop that's the exit to Space Mountain.
It's been closed forever.
That's been closed. Yeah, and is I think getting a new name. That's not the new name, is it? I think
no. Yeah, they're changing it. I can't remember what the name is now, but yeah, it's not going to be Light and Power anymore.
Yeah,
yeah.
They did get a new clock on there. I don't know. I didn't put that on the list, but I don't know if you saw that. But they put a new clock out in the front that looks very cool.
Yeah, I did see that. Yeah. I was going to mention. Oh, so for these action figures,
yeah,
I feel that there's. So it's funny. They're calling it the Identity Program because of Identity Disc and everything, but there's also the Tron Identity game coming out later this year too.
Oh,
so
that's
I feel
right,
they're trying to tie it all together, right? So
makes sense. That's what Disney's good at, right? Yeah. Disney's good at tying all that stuff together.
Yeah. So there's a theme here.
Yeah. By the way, so Tomorrowland Light and Power is going to be called Tomorrowland Launch Depot now. Okay. So that's what the new name of it is.
Stop calling stuff Launch Bay, Launch Depot. Yeah.
Stop calling stuff Launch.
Yeah.
I do like the new art though that they put on it and the new clock. I don't know if you saw the art in the clock, but it looks very cool. I'll send it to you so you can see it. But yeah, but it's very Tomorrowland and looks very cool to me. I like the redesign of it.
Yeah, they brought a little bit of the brass in from
Yeah.
Disneyland.
Yeah.
They didn't overdo it this time, thankfully.
Yeah, they actually were like very careful about it, I feel like. So Tron's now
It's a step off from being called Tomorrowland Home Depot.
Tomorrowland Home Depot. Yeah, I guess you're right.
I don't like the name. That's all.
That's fair. I it's okay. It's understandable. I get it. But yeah, so this merch looks pretty cool for Tron. Even this water bottle looks pretty cool.
Yeah, it actually because it's like an energy cell kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah. They really did a good job theming it to try. I mean, it's very. There's nothing out there about any of this stuff. It fits in very well, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
It's and I mean for me like Tron has always been like when I saw it as a kid, that kind of sparked a lot of my love of technology, and obviously that's where I went with my career and everything was into IT and all that. And I love seeing I think that's why I like Tron so much, is that it's like it's such a crazy dream world of like, imagine if your computer functioned like this, right?
Yeah.
And just like all the apparel and everything, like, yeah, I think Disney's on the right track with this stuff.
Since we're already talking about Tron, let's skip ahead to I should have put these in the same section, but another thing that got announced, and this is just, by the way, this is just Disney killing time, but basically the grand opening for Tron is April 4th, and since they're not doing the previews anymore, now between March 20th, which if you're listening to this on the day that it comes out is March 20th, to April 2nd, which is, a couple days before it opens to the public, they're going to do a soft opening where they're going to do, they're going to have it be irregular intervals, but it's still going to be, I think, a virtual queue where they're going to call you back for this. But like I said, Disney, we talked about this weeks ago, right? This is one of those rides that I feel like has been done for a while, or close to done for a while, that they literally were slow playing it for a while, and then in order to time it with listen, originally this was supposed to open in 2020, right? It was supposed to be for the 50th anniversary. Now the 50th anniversary is ending, so instead of having it for the 50th anniversary, they're having it as the 50th anniversary is ending, as a new thing to capture your attention and bring in people, right? But in order for them to do that, it seemed like it was done quite a bit earlier, and they just kind of were slowly finishing things up. Now they just have all this extra time. So obviously, and this is actually a good thing in a lot of ways, because usually they use this time to tweak stuff, right? Like if they're having issues with the ride, and like Rise of the Resistance, notoriously broke down a lot and had a lot of issues. It seems like they're opening this with, I haven't seen any problems with even people doing the previews where they said it was broken down or anything, or there was an issue. So, and I guess part of it is because it's fairly straightforward, right? It's
far less technical than Rise of the Resistance.
Exactly. Yes. Rise of the Resistance is basically there's 100 things that can go wrong in Rise of the Resistance. But this is more of a straight up roller coaster. So that makes it a little bit easier. But for me, this is just them killing time until they open it to the public and, ride that wave of popularity that they're going to have right after that. So, yeah,
I think it's also more training time for the cast members.
That's true. Yeah.
It is it's giving them a chance to, do bursts of dealing with actual guests and kind of getting used to how everything flows. You're right. There's nothing about the ride technically that needs to be tweaked, but I think this is giving their cast members a chance to really get comfortable with it before the floodgates open, which will be the actual opening day.
Well, but usually they can iron that stuff out with this is a really long soft opening, right? Of a couple weeks.
It is.
Where usually it's just soft opening is a day or two ahead of time. I don't know. It's just interesting to me how this ended up. But
I think because it's been delayed for so long. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
I think Disney's taking every opportunity to, just the thing is you're right. Most times they'll do a couple of days of soft opening and then go. But how many times in the past have you heard negative stuff about opening day where it's cast members didn't know what was going on, or, it was chaotic, and, I didn't enjoy opening day because of reason X, right? Whereas this is giving them a chance to, better fine tune this so that when they do have an opening day, like I think the interesting thing will be if opening day happens and all you hear is, there's queues for it, but people are more excited about saying that they liked it versus the ride broke down or I didn't get to ride it or anything that. Like they're trying to avoid that, what happened with Hagrid's coaster in Universal, right? Like I think that was, even though that was a while ago now, that was kind of the big eye opener for these companies is, opening day does matter, and you don't want to create an impression that, the ride is not functioning, whether it's technical or, from a cast member level. You don't want to create a perception that they can't run these rides, right?
No,
so
I agree.
think Disney they're doing everything they can to alleviate that is what I'm getting from it.
And what I've read too, the loading process for this, because of the nature of the ride vehicles, is a little unique and a little confusing from what I've read for people.
Get on the bike.
Well, and they made it super easy too. Like that back restraint that comes down, it's from pulling the handles on the front. So like you pull down the handles in the front and the back restraint comes on your back. I think the problem is more that because of the way the bikes are situated, like the person that's on the other side of the station, like you have to walk across the state. This is what I've read. Okay. I don't think it's difficult either, Trevor, but somebody was saying that it was a challenging way to get on the ride. And I was like, that seems pretty straightforward to me, but okay, whatever. Like,
I think for me, like I haven't even looked at it in that much detail, but I like, and anyone, you can laugh at me about this, but I've watched enough Tron that it's like in my head, I'm like, oh yeah, a light cycle. This is how I'm going to get on a light cycle. Like it doesn't. Yeah,
you've just imagined this for a while. Like,
yeah, it doesn't seem like it'll be. It doesn't seem like it'll be a challenge. Like I'll be like, oh yeah, that this makes sense.
Yeah, to your point though, I'm sure they're going to use this time for more training and and really trying to and like I said, this is going to be on a virtual queue, which should surprise nobody. This is pretty much par for the course now. That Disney's going to use these virtual queues when they open new rides. Like that's just what they're going to do. So like it or hate it, just you got to do.
I think it's way better. I think it's a much better experience than hoping to get on a ride after you've been standing there for 5 hours. Right?
Listen, I 100% agree, Trevor. I don't understand why anybody wants to wait online for an entire day and waste an entire day with no guarantee of getting on one ride, right? Like, why wouldn't you want to do a virtual queue, go do everything else you're going to do, and then have them call you when it's your time? I get it. I get the stress of getting into the virtual queue. Like that can be stressful for people, and they go by fast, and some people don't want to get up early to do these things, but it's like, I'd rather have it taken care of and like guarantee my spot in line, and go do other stuff. That's just how that's how I feel.
Yeah. With the whole like lightning lanes and stuff, I know, paying for them is, not leaving a great taste in people's mouths, but, I do like that, like exactly what you're talking about is, knowing that it's like, oh, either I know I'm getting on it or I know I'm not. And understanding, rides break down and everything, but, having that reserved time feels a lot better. And it's also, like you said, you can kind of, you plan around it instead of, it's giving that, choice of, well, I can stay in the park or I can go do other things versus, am I going to waste the next 5 hours standing in a line, right? Like exactly. It takes that choice out entirely. Like
it's like making a reservation at a restaurant or showing up and then being like, hey, there's a 2-hour wait for your party. You want to just sit here and wait for 2 hours to eat? You know what I mean?
You can't leave and come back later. We won't hold your spot.
Yeah, we won't hold your spot.
You have to sit here.
Yeah, exactly. Like, why wouldn't anyone just do the reservation? Like, I don't know. But I understand the arguments against. I don't feel that they're particularly strong arguments in my mind. But
I feel there's still room for spontaneity. But
no, I agree. I actually think this helps spontaneity, honestly. But because you can still go and do whatever. Like, you're not beholden to this ride. You go do other stuff. So yeah,
and it takes it down to it's an hour of your time at most. Like, because even when you come back for getting into some of these rides, it still takes a while. Versus like it's not I wasted half of my day for a 30-second ride, right?
Yeah,
like,
exactly. Well, and then it's only a minute and a half to 2 minute ride. I'm seeing conflicting things. Some people have said minute. It's like 2 minutes, according to what I've seen. It's 2 minutes.
I mean, yeah, it's a roller coaster. I don't expect it to be crazy long.
You don't expect it to be Kilimanjaro Safari 22 minutes long. Like it's a roller coaster. Yeah. So along with this, and I don't think we've actually talked about this, but they are building a little food stand right by the exit of Tron, which is great. I think it's always good to have more food stands, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so they actually released the menu for this. So we've got some, it's called Energy Bites. So
spell with a Y.
With a Y, of course. Yeah. You got to have a Y, right? So we've got some chocolate cake donut holes, which look delicious, by the way. I would eat those.
Yep.
Topped with a mocha sauce. Okay. I'd even do that, even though I don't, really want mocha. There's a Joffrey's cold brew coffee. Let's see. They've got
these digital dumplings. They're buffalo chicken dumplings. That actually sounds really good.
It sounds delicious. Chicken. So it's chicken dumplings, blue cheese powder, and cayenne pepper broth.
I'm in.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Even though I'm not a big blue cheese fan, I'd probably still
I love buffalo and blue cheese is like one of the best things. Yeah.
Then they also have a beef and broccoli one too, which is beef dumplings.
I'll have to get both.
Yeah, broccoli pesto and ginger soy broth. So really, it's a very interesting choice, I feel like, for that ride to do dumplings. I don't know why. I just feel like it's an odd choice, but they sound good. They're just trying to figure out why they chose dumplings.
I think, again, in the scope of Tron, like if you think about how things were depicted in like the last movie and stuff, like looking at the way they're presenting this does feel like something you would see in Tron. Like like everything was always posed as being very, I don't even know what the right term is for it. Like upscale food, right? Like
upscale.
It was always like they were in like a nightclub, or they were in like somewhere that if they were eating food in Tron, you would imagine that it's like I can see this.
Okay, you're the bigger fan of Tron than I am, so
I do like this. So they have this dessert, the strawberry isoform is what it's called.
Yeah,
and so it says it's the ultimate refreshing treat: strawberry ice cream mochi, graham crackers, and a little bit of cheesecake foam to finish it off. So,
have you
ever had ice cream mochi before?
No, I have not. No.
So mochi is like
I'm aware of it. I've just never had it. Yeah.
It's rice, but it's got ice cream in it, and it's really good. Like mochi is awesome. And then graham crackers and cheesecake. Like, it'll taste like a strawberry cheesecake basically, but it'll be an ice cream.
Yeah, no, that sounds pretty good. I also want to say too, this drink, watermelon refresher with yuzu and ginger. That sounds pretty good, man.
Yeah.
It looks good too. I like anything. Well, I love a good watermelon beverage. That's good.
I might be having an impromptu dinner outside of Tron.
You're just gonna eat all. You want to eat all of this?
Yeah, I won't go anywhere else. I'll just sit down and order one of each of these and
just watch the vehicles go by as the canopy goes up, right? Yeah, that's a good idea actually. I'm sure they're gonna have a lot of that, of people just getting food there and then finding a place to sit and just watching everything go by. So yeah. So that's cool. So that's enough Tron, I think, for today, right? But we do also have to talk about some Epcot stuff. So we got some announcements on the Epcot. Well, it's not even just Epcot, actually. This article's around the parks, right? So
yeah, it's all the updates that are coming.
So one of the big things, we talked about a rumor a couple episodes ago that Maribel would be replacing who? What's her name? Merida from Brave.
What's her name?
Yeah, that's her name. Yeah.
For all the Merida fans out there.
Sorry.
Yes. Sorry. Merida's
one with the red hair and the bow and arrow. But so we talked about a rumor that Maribel was going to be replacing Merida, and that rumor actually turned out to be true. So Maribel will be meeting guests and causing all kinds of traffic jams in that very tight area, because that is going to be a very popular meet and greet, I would say. And it's not a great spot for it. It really just isn't. That line is going to go so far up to the castle. But anyway, so they're saying later this, what is it? When is this? Greet this fall. They're saying for Maribel. Okay.
Yeah.
Very vague. And then Moana will also be greeting guests at Animal Kingdom, which is also great, starting on April 22nd. I can tell you personally that Moana and Maribel are probably my daughter's two favorites, and probably she'd lose her mind if she met either one of them. Like, she would go crazy.
Well,
I mean, she would. It's probably on par with her meeting Eeyore and Mickey and all them. Like, she would go crazy for them.
So now you know you're going to Epcot and Animal Kingdom on your next trip.
Well, we go to all the parks, Trevor.
Yeah, but
yes, you know where we're going. Yes, we know where we're going. And then, for me and for, probably for Trevor as well, later this summer, guests will get the chance to hug longtime Epcot icon Figment at the Imagination Pavilion. Yeah. So the Figment meet and greet that they announced last year is finally coming to fruition this summer. So excited for this.
Yeah, that's going to be like I like Figment, but I think my wife is a bigger fan, like kind of like you, like she really likes Figment. Like she loves all the merchandise. She loves just the, I mean, what he is, right? He's imagination. So
absolutely.
I think this will be like it's funny because I don't know about in your house, but in my house, it's like we all kind of have our own favorite characters.
Yeah.
And this will be like when we go and meet characters, or like when we would in the past, it would like my wife would like lead in on certain characters because it was like this was her favorite. So yeah. I get the feeling it's going to be like me standing there and my wife's going to be like up at the front, like hugging Figment and like pushing me out of the way because
forget you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That makes sense. We also got some updates on Epcot, the Epcot transformation. Yep. And first of all, I love this art that they have for the Communicore Hall that they're building. It just looks so Epcot and just looks very cool, But so they talked about Journey of Water. Now they're saying they said last year, they said late 2023. Now they're saying fall. So, which is good. It means it's speeding along here, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then they also have this thing about Mickey and Friends, which is going to be a part of the new Communicore Hall, right? So it's going to, and these are new renderings that we haven't seen before. So this character greeting place is going to be called Mickey and Friends. Of course, you're going to be able to meet Mickey Mouse and some of his other friends, much like you could before, right? Like,
yeah, there was that spot in the character spot in, where is it? Interventions East, I think it was.
Yeah. And then Communicore Hall is going to be an exhibition space that they're going to change with each festival through the year, which I love that they're kind of getting back to this with Epcot, because they used to do, they used to have all those different exhibitions inside, the buildings, and like it just was cool, right? Like, and they would change them up fairly often, and then that kind of fell by the wayside towards the end, right? But now in like interventions and stuff like that, they used to have all those cool exhibits. And so now they're kind of, in a way, bringing that back, but they're doing, they're going to have like festival stuff here. So like in this concept art, they show like an example of the Festival of the Arts, and there's like a big Figment statue, and there's like, it looks like some interactive.
So cool.
That statue is really cool. If they're not gonna make that, they should.
They can't do that. Like, you can't put out a rendering like that.
I know.
And then not have it,
like, not actually build the statue.
Yeah.
I agree with you, man. I would think they should, but I mean, it looks like there's going to be interactive stuff in here, and they're going to have, I mean, it's obviously going to change out as the different festivals go around. So,
but kind of back to how Interventions was too, where like you had just things to do, right? Like it wasn't attractions per se, but it was interactive exhibits and all that kind of stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's why I'm glad that they're getting back to that in these newly designed spaces. So,
I'm glad that they didn't just take that out. Like, I think they realized that, there was value in it. And even though Interventions kind of was not maintained well towards the end,
it's falling apart. I mean, it was not great.
Yeah, I'm glad that they're trying to bring it back, and it looks like in a more or not stable, but a way that they can, keep things there and then change them out without having to do it under the premise of like new technology or whatever. It's just kind of whatever they're doing at the time.
It doesn't have to be like the latest and greatest technology or like, it's more of like, this is focused on art, and they have these cool art exhibits, and I'm sure they'll do some different things when you have the Flower and Garden Festival and Food and Wine. I'm sure they can. So it seems like a very flexible space where they can do a lot of different things with it. So that's really cool. And like you said, I mean, interventions towards the end, it was almost like a ghost town. It was like, it was like half of it was empty. Like the stuff that was there wasn't working very well. The building itself wasn't in great shape. So
it was trapped in the early 2000s.
It really was. Yeah, it was. Yeah. I mean, I remember when I went in, I want to say it was like 2006 or 7, around that time. Mm-hmm. I remember the first time I went on a Segway was there, right? Like they were when Segways like first came out, they were doing a whole thing at Interventions where you could ride a Segway around like this little course that they had set up. Right?
Yeah, we did that too.
Yeah, you remember that? Yeah. And so like that was the kind of stuff they used to do, and then it just kind of fell by the wayside. Like it just didn't. There was like a I forget who sponsored it, but there was like a painting one that they had for a little while that was kind of cool. It was like Crayolers. I don't know if it was Crayola. I think it was a paint company. I want to say it was like Sherwin-Williams or something, where you could like paint stuff on like the wall, but it was like virtually,
Right.
But like there just wasn't enough of that anymore,
I just remember there was a room where they were doing like audio, or they were showing like audio equipment off, and they had like rumble things built into the seats and stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, and they also had the roller coaster simulator thing for the longest time, right? Yeah. I mean, there was a lot of cool stuff that they had in there. So I mean, they're not getting back to exactly this, but
I want to see what they do with it. Like, I think it, like you said, it's a flexible space. I'm curious to see what kind of stuff they're going to bring to it, because there really is no limit at this point to what they can do.
Agreed. So then the other thing they mentioned in this article is commemorating the 100th anniversary of of Disney World. Not Disney World, I'm sorry, of the Walt Disney Company. And the way they're going to do that at Disney World is one of the things they're going to do is this new show that they're going to bring to the World Showcase Lagoon. Now, the description of this right now is super vague, and we just have one piece of concept art. And so I'm sure there's a lot more to it than what we're seeing right here. But a new nighttime spectacular will debut at Epcot later this year, inviting everyone around the World Showcase for a show that will unite us through commonalities of the heart in a dazzling display of fireworks, lasers, music, and light. I mean, that's pretty vague.
Yeah, and the way that this is being presented, it looks like there's like a huge fireworks display around Spaceship Earth, which we know is not going to be the case. But
yeah, that's true, actually, right?
Yeah. And also the positioning of this is actually, it's looking towards, it's as if you're looking from the main gate towards Spaceship Earth, which I get the feeling a lot of the stuff is like when they finish up the central area that's been under construction forever. I think that's where a lot of this is going to happen. Or that's my feeling, is that they're kind of leading up to. There's going to be something that not just the World Showcase Lagoon, but also that like whole center area that leads up to Spaceship Earth.
Yeah,
is all going to be like. It's all going to be a single show, which is kind of crazy if you think about it. Like, just like I think you could be like almost anywhere in that central lane. I call it a lane. I don't know what, like there's like a throughway that goes from World Showcase back up to Spaceship Earth. I feel like you could be anywhere in there and you'll get an amazing show from what they're kind of alluding to with this.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like what Happily Ever After is now, right? Because they have the projections on Main Street, right? So like, you can see the projections that are on the castle, but also if you're standing on Main Street watching it, you get the music, you get the fireworks, and then you get different projections that are going on down Main Street, right? Like they're doing this thing now where you can like see these shows from anywhere. I think they're being intentionally vague here, right? Because I still think that there's probably a lot that they're still designing, right? Like this is not a finalized concept. And it definitely looks like it doesn't look like there's a centralized barge here. You know what I mean? Like like Illuminations had the big world barge that they would bring out every day. This concept art is kind of just showing some fountains and stuff like that, almost like World of Color is, where the fountains are just there all day, right? Like they're just built into the lagoon, you know?
I don't even think this is going to be in the World Showcase. I think it's going to be, because remember they had that fountain in like right in front of Spaceship Earth.
It's saying it's World. It should be. It says World Showcase Lagoon.
Yeah, but I think they'll incorporate both of them. But it, like I said, I don't know if they're going to put in a whole bunch of fountains in the lagoon, because then they can't really run the boats.
Like, I mean, I guess they could try to run them around them. I don't know. But yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see, Trevor. It's a good point.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, they said inviting everyone to gather around World Showcase Lagoon for a show that will unite us. So, like, I'm assuming the main show is taking place in the lagoon. But I don't know. I mean, we'll have to see. And I mean, there's no mention of drones here. The big, rumor has been that this is going to be a drone show too. So no mention of that.
I think people need to let go of the whole drone thing.
Oh, you don't think it's going to happen?
I don't think it's feasible. Everyone wants to think that Florida weather's stable enough for it. I don't think it is.
It's too windy, I think, at times, right? I mean, the wind, I think, is probably the biggest problem. Yeah, no, you're not wrong. I think it's going to be interesting to see, right, what this ends up being. Obviously, they're still designing it and still working on it, so we're not going to know anything for a while. So, I think the rest of the stuff in here, I don't think we need to mention. I'd rather move on to other stuff.
Yeah.
The other stuff that we have is Disneyland, and I put these on here specifically for you, Trevor. But so first off, Indiana Jones Adventure is reopened. When was it? Just reopened, right?
Like this last week.
Yeah, it just opened this past week. Yeah. And it's funny because I read the article that this is referencing in the Orange County Register, and they had mentioned that they changed nothing in the ride, that they just updated things. But then they had to retract that article because Imagineering came out and said, no, we did change stuff.
Yeah.
So, good, Trevor.
So what it actually says is, per the Register, Imagineering plussed up the ride with 2 new digital effects scenes to demonstrate the power of Mara, the antagonist deity in the Temple of the Forbidden Eye, at the center story unfolding in the attraction. So, yeah, there's Mara is pretty early on in the ride, and I know the room they're talking about, and there was already a lot of effects going on in that room. So I'm wondering what they've done to further improve that. Like, they're saying there's like spirits and stuff and more electric energy. Like there's already electricity going through the room, but it sounds like they've improved the effects to, probably more on the level of like Tower of Terror, or actually maybe even bigger than that. Because like Tower of Terror, the electrical effect is pretty impressive in there.
Yeah, so there's I watched a video of what they changed. There's some videos out there.
Okay.
I don't know if you're I know you're usually spoiler averse, but I don't know if this one bothers you.
I'd still rather see it myself. Like, yeah,
fair enough.
I don't need to see the effects now the next time I go to Disneyland.
I will say they look very cool. They do look very cool. And given, I have not been on this ride, so I don't know what the originals look like, right? But I will say the ones that are there do look very cool. And it's a lot of that projection mapping stuff that they've been doing. But it definitely adds, I think, a lot to the actual effect. It looks, like I said, it looks very cool.
I mean, what the thing is you've seen this and you've been on Dinosaur.
Yeah.
If you rode this ride, you would understand why Dinosaur.
Oh no, I get it. I get it. I don't think that Dinosaur is like the pinnacle of of Disney Imagineering. I like Dinosaur, but yeah, no, I've watched ride-throughs of Indiana Jones before, and yes, it is definitely the far superior ride.
It's gotten even better. So
yeah, now it's even better, right?
Animal Kingdom needs to step up.
They need to get it together. I mean, it kind of seems like, by the way, because like Josh Giamaro's out here saying that Tron was just the tip of the iceberg, and Bob Iger's talking about investing heavily in the park. So I feel like we're going to see some big announcements really soon here of some things, because they have projects that are just like have been sitting there that they're just waiting to get the go ahead for, So if they're going to get funding to do this stuff, then I'm assuming that they're going to be able to release some of it soon.
Yeah, I think these little tweaks and stuff. Obviously they're good stopgaps, and it's good that they're putting some love back into the existing rides. But yeah, like you said, I'm really curious to see what they're going to do next beyond just doing these small improvements, right?
Well, Iger gets it, right? So Iger's like, listen, we have huge demand right now. We could raise prices. We could further reduce the amount of people coming into the park, but we don't want to do either one of those things. He said we'd rather just increase the capacity, just by building more things, building more rides.
Yeah. So what Damon wants.
Yeah. Well, I think it's what we all want, right? Is building new things, like build more capacity, right?
Yeah. Don't take away the current stuff. Just make more.
Build more things. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So then, the last thing,
last but not least, yeah.
So Pete is getting his own meet and greet in Toontown and Disneyland.
Good for Pete.
Yeah. I'm happy for Pete. He's sometimes misunderstood, and
I mean, he is kind of the villain in like half the Mickey stuff. Like
he's the antagonist. He's not always villainous in what he's doing. A lot of times he's just being dumb.
Yeah, dumb.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, he really is.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, it's I mean, cool that they're doing that because Pete. It's funny because he's always and I think this is maybe a bit of a credit to Jim Cummings, who does the voice for Pete.
Yeah,
is he's very good at coming across very mean and gruff and antagonistic, but then from time to time the character you kind of see where he's just misunderstood, or he wants to it's almost like he harasses Mickey because he doesn't know how to be his friend.
Yeah. He just wants to be accepted by Mickey and his friends, and he just can't be.
Yeah, and so he just does these dumb things and gets himself in trouble. But I think it's cool that they're kind of bridging that gap of having the villains as a meet and greet. We've talked about this many times. Having like a villain land or something like that. But just giving people the option to see a character like Pete. And I think it's also good because, the cast members who get to be friends with these characters, it gives them some different interactions that you wouldn't see with like Mickey and Donald and stuff. So yeah.
I agree. I think it's cool. I would definitely do a picture with Pete.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Anything else?
No, I think that's.
I want to do one more thing before we wrap up. If we don't have anything on the topics we have, I forgot to put this on the list. I just want to mention. So the sad news for those that are Imagineering nerds out there like myself, the very sad news that Raleigh Crump died.
Oh, yes.
Very, very famous Imagineer. If you like anything Enchanted Tiki Room or even Haunted Mansion, Adventureland, all of those kinds of areas were designed by Raleigh Crump. He was really responsible for a lot of the really cool designs of the Haunted Mansion. A lot of them didn't make it into it, right? But like he worked on a lot of the really crazy stuff for the Haunted Mansion. But he also the whole aesthetic basically of the Enchanted Tiki Room is basically all Raleigh Crump, right?
Yeah.
So like if you're an Enchanted Tiki Room fan, like this is a guy that did it, and he also. He was a very interesting guy. He was outspoken when they would design bad things. He would really say some interesting things there. But he left the company in the 70s, came back, and then came back and worked on Epcot. He apparently also had a hand in designing Figment. So he was a part of that as well. He did some early work on Magic Kingdom at Disney World, and of course Small World I think is one of his biggest impacts, right? So he designed its Small World and was responsible. Go ahead, sorry.
He worked alongside Mary Blair on that.
Yeah,
she did all the like costume designs and everything, and he was doing all the mechanical implementation.
Yeah, and he also designed the large clock outside the ride at Disneyland. So that whole clock was all Raleigh Crump. So definitely a legendary Imagineer, and really, really interesting guy. And also he did work for other places too. He designed a dark ride at Knott's Berry Farms. He designed I talked about Epcot. He did the Land and Wonders of Life Pavilion at Disney at Epcot. So yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff that he worked on. He was a very, talented guy. He was one of those guys that was an animator first and then got into Imagineering in the 50s. So, really, really interesting guy. But yeah, so very sad that he died at age 93. I mean, he was an older guy, obviously, but
he had a very, fulfilling life.
He did, for sure.
And yeah, to your point, if anybody's interested, recommend you. There's been lots of, interviews and stuff with him over the years. Or like in various places. Like I know there's even like, I wish we had a chance to like interview an Imagineer like him at some point. I know other podcasts have gone to do that, but it was good to go back and kind of like, I've gone back and listened to some of the interviews with him and stuff. And yeah, it's kind of cool to get, hear his thoughts and insights on some of the stuff that he designed, right? Because like you said, you don't really think about it. You forget that, Disney didn't just have, or he wasn't just like inventing all this stuff himself. Like he had vision, and he was, giving people the vision of what he wanted. But Raleigh was one of those guys that was executing that vision, which is, translating somebody's idea into real world is, that's a very unique skill set that he had. So
yeah, it's worth noting too, he was an animator on Peter Pan, Lady and the Tramp, Sleeping Beauty, and 101 Dalmatians. So he was also, an animator too. But interestingly, if like you read into his background too, he was very close with Walt Disney himself, and would say that there were in fact people at Disney that thought that that he favored that Raleigh Crump was his favorite. And because and Raleigh says, he did favor me in a lot of ways because I used to just tell him like it is, like he would be very honest. Like if he thought something was bad, he would tell him it was bad. Whereas like, most people, if you read about their relationship with Walt Disney, they were kind of scared of him, they were kind of scared to tell him something was bad. Raleigh was not. So he would tell them things were bad. And apparently Walt respected that quite a bit. So
yeah, but it's good that he was able to, because, in a lot of cases, if somebody didn't say no at the right time, things don't always turn out the way that they were supposed to.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, and if you do want to see him, if you haven't watched the Imagineering story on Disney Plus, he is featured in there in that documentary, so you can see him speaking about many things in that documentary. So anyway, I just wanted to bring that up. I forgot to put it on the rundown, but I just was something that happened this week that people that follow Imagineering like I do, that really that was a bummer. So
yeah.
All right, let's get wrapped up here.
Hopefully it leaves, the legacy will be carried on by, we have some good Imagineers coming up, it looks like. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
As usual, if you guys want to reach out to us, you can always find us at welcomehomepodcast@gmail.com. We love getting listener questions and, sharing your own trip reports and stuff like that. So keep it coming. If you want to follow us on social media, you can find us on Facebook as Welcome Home Podcast, same on YouTube, and on Instagram as Welcome Home Pics. YouTube and Instagram are great places for when we go on trips. You can see, we'll post videos or we'll post stuff on Instagram, and also when we do our live shows, you can catch recaps of those on YouTube. Also on Facebook, check out our group, the Welcome Home Disney Waitlist, which is a great place to chat with other listeners of the show and, just get in on what other people are talking about to listen to the show. So, if you're interested, I would highly recommend it, because we have a great group in there of experts in different areas that all love having good Disney conversation. And if you'd like to help support the show, go to store.welcomehomepodcast.com and check out some of our different merchandise there that, we've got t-shirts and mugs and stuff that, supporting us through there just helps us continue to produce the show. Same thing with Patreon. You can go to patreon.com/welcomehomepod and look at the different levels of Patreon support we have, which has exclusive merchandise that you can't get on the store. And Patreon supporters also get access to the Discord server, which is yet another place that we love talking with our listeners. Last but not least, if you're listening on iTunes or Spotify, please leave us a 5-star review. It does help more people find the show. And on iTunes, especially, if you want to leave us a review, we'd love to see that. I don't know if we have any.
I do. I have a new one. I got a new one for this week. So this one is from Susie. Thank you for writing in, Susie. And it says, quieter car rides. Thank you. Okay. I've been listening for a few years now and absolutely love you guys. Thank you, Susie. That's very sweet. I can never get enough Disney. The show has a great balance with hearing all 3 opinions on topics each week. Love the new ride review segment too. Oh, thanks. I'm glad you like that. By the way, that was Damon's idea. I just want to throw that out there. That was Damon's idea. It may seem like I was like, oh, we got to talk more Disney rides. This was all Damon. So just going to throw it out there. But my favorite genres of podcasts are true crime and Disney, which gives me an idea for a new podcast. Disney True Crimes.
Oh, no. So there's a weird Venn diagram there that I don't know I want to see.
I'm sure there's some we could find, right? Like there's got to be some sort of Disney true crime. Anyway, and since my 5-year-old son makes the 30-minute car ride to school with me each day now, Disney it is. We love to spend our car rides listening to you and discussing all things Disney. Thank you for your awesome podcast. Thank you so much, Susie. What a very nice review. That was very sweet. But I also, we're going to start Disney True Crime podcast just so we can, like you said, we can get the Venn diagram there, right? Like we get those people in the middle that like both. Oh, man. Anyway. Don't forget to subscribe to Welcome Home Podcast so you can be reminded every time we release a new episode. You can find our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, TuneIn, Stitcher, Spotify, just about any podcast app out there. Just a reminder to our listeners, Welcome Home Podcast is for entertainment only. We are not employed by the Walt Disney Company, and as such, all opinions we express on the show are our own. So please consult your DVC representative for more information about, anything we talked about today, or talk to a regular Disney cast member. Whoever you want to talk to, just make sure you talk to Disney. Don't listen to us. We just say things sometimes. A huge thank you to our sponsor of this episode, DVC Resale Market. Please go check out their site for their new feature where you can, swap your contracts really easily. And, of course, World of DVC for continuing to support this show over the years. So please check them out for all your DVC-related needs. Join us next time for more Disney Parks discussion. Of course, more DVC talk. We hope to see you all real soon.
This is Skipper Albert A. the voice of the jungle, signing off from Welcome Home Podcast on the DVC.
Do a huddle when we hit its hair. How she can cuddle is no man's affair. I looked around from pole to pole, found her in a sugar bowl.